Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Shel Shaminato, for TVS Nightline. As always, we begin with the headlines. Malaysian Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin took his first vaccine jab today to kickstart a nationwide exercise to provide COVID-19 immunisation for free to the people in Malaysia, locals and foreigners alike.
The Prime Minister received the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine shot at the District Health Centre in Precinct 11.
Tak rasa apa pun. Saya gitu-gitu tunggu sekejap, tengok dah selesai je. Macam injection biasa. Ini Tan Sri ada kat sini pun okey. Yeah? So don't worry, come forward anytime.
The centre is among the vaccine dispensing centres identified for the National Covid19 Immunisation Programme. Muhyiddin arrived at the clinic at about 2:25 p.m. and had to go through 5 stations at the PPV to complete the vaccination process. Meanwhile, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, a familiar face in Malaysia's year-long battle against the COVID-19 pandemic, was administered the vaccine right after Muhyiddin had received his. The Prime Minister being kept under observation for possible side effects before given his appointment for his second dose. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine comes in 2 doses, with the jabs to be given 21 days apart. The Prime Minister then launched the registration for the immunisation program via the MySejahtera vaccination app, which was introduced to make it easier for people to sign up for inoculation target to get at least 80% of the people vaccinated to achieve herd immunity to curb and end the pandemic.
The National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme is expected to be completed before the end of this year, despite the target being February 2022. The programme's coordinating minister, Khairi Jamaluddin, said the confidence was based on the level of efficiency and professionalism of the Health Ministry, or MOH, and if the vaccines arrive on schedule.
In addition, during the third phase, mega vaccination centres would be established, including in stadiums and conference centres, which will enable more people to be vaccinated at one time.
Apa yang masih lagi menjadi tanda tanya adalah sama ada kita akan terima vaksin mengikut jadual. Kita dah menandatangani perjanjian ataupun kontrak dengan beberapa syarikat, Pfizer dan juga syarikat-syarikat lain. Tetapi kita masih lagi bergantung kepada kapasiti kilang pembuatan mereka yang berada di luar negara. Kalau mereka menepati perjanjian ataupun kontrak, saya percaya dan yakin kita dapat selesai sebelum akhir tahun ini.
Regarding the mega vaccination centres, Khairi said it will be established in the third phase, or better known as the public phase, as it will be the biggest phase in the programme.
Itulah juga masa penjadualan penghantaran vaksin yang paling banyak. Ya. Kalau kita melihat hari ini, dia ratusan ribu saja. Tapi menjelang pertengahan tahun ini, apabila kita mula fasa ketiga, penjadualan penghantaran vaksin kita adalah jutaan vaksin akan sampai. Sebab itu kita memerlukan tempat ataupun pusat pemberian vaksin yang besar untuk kita selesaikan pemberian vaksin dan tak perlu kita simpan vaksin ini di pusat simpanan vaksin.
Currently, besides Pfizer, Malaysia has agreements with 4 other vaccine manufacturers abroad, namely Sinovac from China, AstraZeneca from United Kingdom, Gamaleya Sputnik V from Russia, and the single-dose vaccine Camsinobio from China, which has yet to be assessed by the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency.
Following the next update, as the Sarawak government will hold a discussion with Petroleum Nasional Berhad, or Petronas, on the discovery of gas fields off Sarawak shores recently. The Chief Minister's office said in a statement that the discussion will be based on the terms of the Commercial Settlement Agreement, or CSA, that will bring about greater benefits to both Sarawak and Petronas.
The state government has been duly notified by Petronas about the discovery of the 2 gas fields, namely the Lang Lebah 2 exploration appraisal well in Block SK410B and Dokong 1 in Block DSK417. Previously, Petronas had confirmed the discovery of gas fields in the territorial waters of the state. Petronas announced in a statement that the Lang Lebah 2 exploration appraisal well in Block SK 410B in central Lusonia province is located 80 kilometers away from Sarawak. Furthermore, another gas field was discovered by Petronas, namely the Dokong 1 Wildcat exploration well in the Block SK 417 production sharing contract in the shallow waters of Baram, located 90 kilometers away from Sarawak.
Meanwhile, the COVID-19 pandemic has raised challenges in dealing with information sharing by the public and the authorities. Sarawak Local Government and Housing Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian describes it as an uphill battle in facing challenging times when it comes to information sharing.
Dr. Sim, who is also Sarawak Disaster Management Committee advisor, the pandemic has led to a series of losses, from financial security to the lives of loved ones. He stressed that the death toll in the past 2 months of 2021 has increased compared to last year.
The sad thing about is when you die of COVID-19 is you die alone. Even your family don't need to go near you. And that's why it is how sad it is.
He said according to the pandemic situation last year, Sarawak still managed to control the spread of the virus. Dr. Sim said that with the state rolling out its biggest vaccination program, which is to vaccinate 2.2 million people in Sarawak by August, the path to recovery in all sectors as promising.
Why we try to aim for 2.2 million people? Why we need that number is because if we don't vaccinate 70% of the people, we don't get enough herd immunity, protection for the community.
People who are less than 18 years old. That means almost 100% of people above 18 years old need to be vaccinated. However, the matter was not an easy task to be executed.
Meanwhile, Borneo Medical Centre or BMC Chairman Dr. John Chu describes the dynamics of the COVID-19 situation in Sarawak. According to him, there are constant changes within a year when the country is plagued by the pandemic. He then shared 3 principles regarding the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right. Never miss an opportunity to test, never miss an opportunity to vaccinate, and never miss or waste a dose of the vaccine.
He further explained that the vaccines is the only hope to curb the spread of the virus and further stressed that the safety and health of the public remains a priority.
Welcome back to the Nightline. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg today has presented the donation cheque to the Association of Research and Development Movement of Singai Sarawak, or commonly known as REDEEMS, today. According to its president, Datuk Peter Nansian Nguisi, the location worth 3.6 million ringgit was an extra funding from the state government for the completion of the Bidayu Cultural Village located in Singai.
Hari ini we are very lucky ya, bertuah lah karena kita dapat menerima sumbangan dari kerajaan Sarawak untuk kita menyiapkan projek kampung budaya Bidayu di pusat Redeem di Kampung Apal Singai, dan dengan adanya pertambahan dana ini kita percaya kita boleh menyiapkan projek ini selewat-lewatnya ujung tahun ini, dan kita akan membuka rasmi pada tahun baru dan juga coincide with our 25th anniversary of Redeems. Setakat ini projek ini sudah siap 70%.
On to the COVID-19 development, as Sarawak today recorded 353 new COVID-19 infection cases, the highest daily total recorded for the state so far.
According to the Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee, Cebu recorded the highest number with 181 cases. This brings the total cases in Sarawak to 8,650 cases, with no deaths reported in the state today. In addition, there were 139 cases of recovery, bringing the total recoveries in the state to 6,238 people. Meanwhile, there were 2,306 people still being treated and isolated at low-risk COVID-19 quarantine and treatment centers and hospital wards, with 375 new patients under investigations reported. The committee also reported that there were still 25 active clusters in the state, with Emperor Jambu cluster in Padawan recording 31 new cases today, bringing the total cases associated to the cluster to 101.
In Malaysia, the Health Ministry has reported 3,545 COVID-19 cases, bringing the total number of infections now stands at 291,774. According to Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, Negeri Sembilan detected the highest number of infections with 1,392, followed by Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Sarawak and Johor.
A total of 189 patients are being treated in intensive care and 88 requiring respiratory assistance. Meanwhile, 12 deaths were recorded, comprised of 11 Malaysians and 1 foreigner. At the same time, a total of 3,331 recoveries were recorded, bringing the total number of those discharged to 260,009.
In the same development, bilateral ties between Malaysia and Japan is strategic and of precious value. Japanese ambassador to Malaysia, Hiroshi Oka, said the list of cooperation between both nations is boundless and enormous strides have been made thanks to Malaysia's Look East policy.
He said robust trade and investment under the policy had been the driving force in the bilateral relations, with about 1,500 Japanese companies in Malaysia creating 340,000 jobs in the manufacturing sector alone.
We will spare no efforts to encourage more investment from Japan to support the Malaysian government's ongoing efforts to enhance productivity.
Japan, the top investor in Malaysia in 2019, was expanding from the traditional focus on electrical and electronics to highly value-added manufacturing such as medical equipments and service sectors like digital, halal industry and logistics. Another key area of cooperation is education and human capacity. Since the launch of the Look East policy nearly 40 years ago, about 27,000 Malaysians had benefited from further studies in Japan.
Once back in Malaysia, they have been playing significant roles at the forefront of every field in Malaysia. The very presence of these alumni gives unique strength to the foundation of our close bilateral ties.
Oka also spoke at length about cooperation in overcoming challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, with Japan providing various forms of support to the Malaysian people. This included the supply of personal protective equipment and other medical equipment.
Malaysia incurred more than 100 billion ringgit in business losses during the implementation of the Movement Control Order (MCO), Enhanced Movement Control Order (EMCO), and Conditional Movement Control Order (CMCO) due to the global pandemic. This statement was based on a research conducted by the Employees Provident Fund (EPF).
According to Sarawak Business Federation Deputy President Datuk Dr. Philip Ting, 133,000 businesses in Malaysia had been shut down temporarily or permanently since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic.
46% of self-employed, or roughly 2 million people in Malaysia, working in
The first phase of Bantuan Sara Hidup 2020 payment will be credited to recipients starting tomorrow. Recipients for the single individuals and household categories will receive a total 150 ringgit and 300 ringgit respectively.
A total of 8.45 million recipients will be receiving the payment under Phase 1 of Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat BPR in stages, involving 1.93 billion ringgit allocation. Ministry of Finance said it involved payment to 4.4 million recipients amounting to 300 ringgit each, while 4.05 million will receive 150 ringgit. Its Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said the payment will be credited directly into their bank accounts. Meanwhile, for those who do not have bank account, Tengku Zafrul said payment will be channeled through Bank Simpanan Nasional branches. He said 8 recipients in Sabah and Sarawak who do not have bank accounts would be receiving payment from March 1st to April 1st. Locations to be announced later together with Bantuan Prihatin Nasional 2.0. Tengku Zafrul said this first phase payment was made to recipients of Bantuan Sara Hidup 2020 and BPN B40 who had been approved earlier.
At the same time, Malaysia's economic recovery plan is on the right track with the national COVID-19 immunisation program that begins today. Ministry of Finance said many economic sectors worldwide are waiting for the reopening of the borders.
Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said this includes the tourism and retail sectors. Tengku Zafrul urged the small and medium enterprises, SMEs and micro SMEs in the tourism sector to take advantage of the 1 billion ringgit penjana tourism financing.
Bagi mereka dari sektor pelancongan, manfaatkanlah peruntukan pembiayaan sektor pelancongan penjana sebanyak 1 bilion ringgit bagi PKS dan PKS Mikro yang masih terkesan dengan COVID-19.
As of February 12th, only 282 applications involving 57.1 million ringgit in financing had been approved. Tengku Zafrul said economic recovery would come in tandem with the public health recovery. He said the World Bank had forecast that Malaysia's economy would grow between 5.6 and 6.7% this year. The government is targeting to vaccinate almost 27 million people, representing over 80% of the country's population by the first quarter of next year.
A good news as students who do not have school uniforms yet are allowed to wear proper, clean clothes to attend schools when the session reopens. The Ministry of Education MOE said in a statement on Wednesday the permission is given until the midterm session beginning March 1st until March 26th.
The ministry said the decision was made following many inquiries from parents who were concerned that they were not prepared for the reopening of schools in stages. On February 19th, the Education Ministry had announced that school sessions will be reopened in stages from March 1st.
A total of 261 recipients from 7 villages in Bukit Semuja constituency received the Sarawak water tank assistance in the second stage for the third phase 2021. The symbolic of the handover has been carried out by the Community Centre Manager Thomas Bucket, representing Bukit Semuja Assemblyman John Elus at Kampong Tribo Hall. According to John Elus, the water tank assistance is a state government initiative in addressing water supply disruption in the area. He also added that the initiative is to lessen the burden faced by the villagers in carrying out their daily errands. Among the 7 villages which received the Sarawak water tanks are Kampong Tribo, Kampong Slabi Plaman, Kampong Koran Ampanek, Kampong Seroban, Kampong Koran Bari, Kampong Ranchan and Kampong Bedup Sungai Cina. Residents of Sungai Asap will benefit from the digital infrastructure to be developed in the area. These include villages, government offices and places of worship in Sungai Asap.
Deputy Chief Minister Tan Sri Dato' Dr. James Jumut Masing, who is also the Minister of Infrastructure and Ports Development, said the development will ease digital transformation in the area. Through the implementation of the project, online platforms such as online classes, banking and communication systems done online will be made convenient. The infrastructure development will broaden internet services up to 100 Mbps to those living in rural areas. In accordance with the initiative, those living in the said area will not be left behind by the digital era in Sarawak.
On to the next update today, as the body of a septuagenarian who was in a car that plunged into Sungai Sarawa near the Satok suspension bridge here was retrieved from the vehicle at noon today. 2 divers from the Batu Lintang Fire and Rescue Station managed to bring out the victim at about 12:50 this afternoon after locating where the Perodua Canary car driven by the victim was reported to have sunk.
The victim was pronounced dead after the rescue team located the victim's vehicle at the scene to rescue the 70-year-old woman.
Kita lihat kedalaman, saya dimaklumkan tadi kedalaman anggota kita menyelam sedalam 15 meter. Okey, jarak daripada dasar rem ni ke dalam sungai lebih kurang 5 ke 7 meter. Okey, dan kita difahamkan memang kenderaan tu masuk melalui hadapan lah, bukannya mengundur.
Yusri also commented that his team was still conducting further investigation on the case. He also urged parties who were responsible in building the fence barriers to prevent future untoward incidents from happening again. Meanwhile, a 24-year-old witness of the tragedy, Boniface Jongsin, said he and his friend rushed to rescue the victim in the vehicle but failed as all 4 doors were locked from inside.
Oh, aku dah nanggain dalam air dah.
Kita masuk air, dia terapung dulu kayak gini.
Oh, terapung.
Slow tenggelam.
Macam tu. Oh.
Menjunam.
Oh, menjunam. Oh. Sebab nya duduk je. Nya duduk je. Oh. Aku mau coba buka pintu yang ada. Macam tu aja lah. Saya tahu lah.
Ada dengar dia?
Tidak ada dengar. Memang
dia diam je.
Sebab pintu cermin pun tertutup juga. Ini pun mau apa? Tangga dalam pun dah sempat.
Tak cuba untuk pecahkan cermin.
Oh. Saya cuba pecah lah. Sebab fikir mau ngikat tali mau tolak tebing dulu.
The victim's body was handed over to the police for further action.
Wrapping up the Nightline tonight, as applications are now open for the inaugural Youth Founder Mentoring Program, or YFMP, organised in line with the Sarawak government's mission to promote digital innovation and entrepreneurs in the state.
Tabung Ekonomi Gagasan Anak Sarawak, or TEGAS, said the program organised by TEGAS Digital Innovation Hub in partnership with Future Lab and Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation is a 6-month online mentoring program tailored for young Sarawakian startup founders studying at institutes of higher learning and fresh graduates. The mentoring program aims to connect young startup founders with experienced entrepreneur mentors from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. It is to equip young startup founders with valuable knowledge and insights on entrepreneurship, as well as to provide real-time feedback on their business ideas and plans to build resilient entrepreneurs. YFMP is open to all Sarawakian Institute of Higher Learning students, fresh graduates, and early-stage startups with at least one Sarawakian co-founder. To apply, visit the official FYMP website. The application closes on 21st March.
And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. As always, thank you for tuning in to your local news tonight. Here with me, Shal Chaminato, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night.